Hello YouTube, Dave here again. This is a little companion side video to my Through the Ages video that I did on the progression or the history of the Barbarian class through the various editions of Dungeons & Dragons. When I was working on the video and researching, going through and reading some of the classes, also I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it is super windy out tonight, and I apologize. But as I was going through and doing the research, one thing constantly kept coming back to, my memory when I was going through, especially when I picked up the 3rd edition and 3.5 books, and that was the fact that in 3rd edition there were variant versions of the Barbarian class. Now, I'm not talking about prestige classes, although there were some of those that I really actually kind of liked. Most of them, I think, were in the Forgotten Realms. Like, you had the Skald, which was the Barbarian Bard combination, and then you had the Battle Rager, which is the Dwarven one, which we did see in the 2nd edition portion of the main video that I did. Also, I did get some people telling me that the 2nd edition AD&D Barbarian was very similar to the 1st edition one, so they didn't have like the rage abilities or anything like that as of yet. They had like the leaping ability and the nature-based abilities and things like that, so it was very similar to the 1st edition one. So thankfully we didn't miss too much in terms of actual progression, which is great. But today, like I said, it's just a little side video, so we are going to go over the substitution features for the Barbarian class. So with 3rd edition, or more specifically with D&D 3.5, after the release of the Players Handbook 2, substitution features became a bigger part of their future releases. A substitution feature is something that replaces a normal aspect of the class and has its own sort of set of benefits. So there may be others, but there were three books that really, again, sort of sprang to mind when I was going through and looking at the Barbarian. So the first one we're going to look at will be the one that sort of kick-started the whole thing, which is the Players Handbook 2. There was also Races of Destiny, which had some substitution features for the Barbarian class, and then finally Races of Stone. For 3rd edition or 3.0, I know that the book Masters of the Wild, I think it was, that had the Barbarian in it, but whatever the splat book or the supplement book was, the soft-covered one for the Barbarian class, I don't know what's in that. I've never really had a chance to read that book. So if there were variant Barbarian features in there, let me know in the comments, because I can't really attest to that, but I want to say that those books were more about like feats and prestige classes than changing the way that the classes work. But we're going to start with the Players Handbook 2. And the Players Handbook 2, just overall, is one of the better books that was released for 3.5 D&D. It's one that, if you're a player, I would almost consider this to be an essential pickup after things like the Players Handbook 1, obviously, and even something like after the Spell Compendium, which was another almost like essential, you need to buy this kind of product. This is the one that I would go with after that. So really fantastic book here, but we're not really here to talk about the book as a whole. What we want to do is get into the variant features for the pre-existing classes. This book also introduced several other new classes, which I might talk about someday, but we're not really, again, here to do that today. I never saw many of them actually being used in my time, but anyway, we want to look at the expanded classes. So, alternative class features, it gives you the name, it gives you the level, what it replaces, and what its benefit is. Some classes had more of these in this book than others, perhaps, but today we are looking at our good old friend, the Barbarian, and that is a pretty awesome picture of the Barbarian. Obviously, that's like their epic level version of Krusk, the iconic half-orc Barbarian. But anyway, so it gives you like some options, some themes, and things that you can use to sort of flavor your character. But then we have our substitution feature, which in this case is Berserker Strength. So Berserker Strength says the decision of when to rage is one of the toughest faced by Barbarian. Selecting the Berserker Strength class feature in place of rage removes the need for this often complicated tactical decision, replacing it with an automatically activated boost to your combat prowess and durability. In short, when the going gets tough, you get tougher. Cute little wordplay there. This is a first level feature, so you have to take this at that level. If you don't take this at the level that the substitution feature is listed at, then you lose the ability to choose it. That's just the way that it works. This actually replaces the standard version of the Barbarian Rage. So the benefit of this, it says whenever your current hit point total is below 5 times your Barbarian level, your Berserker Strength automatically activates. You gain a +4 bonus to your Strength score, a +2 bonus on saves, damage reduction of 2/nothing, so nothing negates it, and a -2 penalty to your armor class. The damage reduction granted by Berserker Strength stacks with any similar kind of damage reduction. So if you already had damage reduction 2, for example, you would get damage reduction 4. If you had damage reduction 5, then you would have DR 7. So it sort of takes the place of gaining extra hit points. So it says there's no limit of the number of times per day your Berserker Strength can activate. While your Berserker Strength is active, you have the same limitation on actions as Barbarian and Rage. So essentially you can't like cast spells or do things that require focus or concentration. You cannot voluntarily end your Berserker Strength, although you automatically drop out of it while unconscious, helpless, or most likely when you receive healing, to bring your current hit points above that threshold. At 11th level, or if you would gain the Greater Rage class feature from any class, your Berserker Strength improves instead. Your Strength bonus improves to +6, your bonuses to saves improves to +3, and that's all saves. It doesn't specify like will saves or things like that. And you gain damage reduction of 3/nothing. So that changes the earlier example just a little bit because by the time you reach that you would have... Anyway, but it does stack. So if you had 3 from your class already, then you would get this and you would have 6 total. At 20th level, or when you would gain a Mighty Rage class feature from any class, your Berserker Strength increases, or instead improves again. The bonus improves to +8, your save bonus goes to +4, and you gain damage reduction of 4/nothing. If I recall, I want to say that the damage reduction gets to 5 or 6. So if that's the case, then you would be reducing, like anytime you got hit, you would be reducing that by 9 or 10, depending on what the number got to. So pretty cool stuff there. And says any effect that would normally apply only during Rage applies whenever your Berserker Strength is active. So a pretty cool ability there. Like I said, it sort of takes the decision making out of it. The aspect that I like about this is that it's not limited to the number of times per day that you can use it. So it's one of those like you're not going to like me when I'm angry type of scenarios. But I like it more from the fact that it's not limited. It's also arguably not quite as powerful because the damage reduction sort of kind of equals out for the amount of hit points that you're no longer gaining as a bonus from your Barbarian Rage increasing the Constitution score. But at the same time, with this feature, you never run the risk of your character dying when you end that rage because there's no hit point adjustments whatsoever. You just take less damage when you're getting attacked. This kind of ability also feels like the genesis of the damage reduction feature that modern day barbarians have in 5th edition, where they just simply reduce the damage whenever they're in their Barbarian Rage instead of the extra hit points. So this feature sort of feels like an earlier version of that, and truthfully I kind of like this version more than even the 5th edition Barbarian Rage. So really cool features there. So that was the Players Handbook 2. Up next, I'm actually going to do these sort of in the order that they came out. So let's take a look at Races of Stone. This is another really fantastic book. It goes into history on like dwarves, gnomes, and this was the book that introduced the Goliath race. So all of these Races of books, at least up to Races of the Dragon. No, Races of Eberron had, I think, some unique stuff. Anyway, they always introduce new stuff. But again, we're looking for the character options. So we got to go sort of towards the back of the book here. Before I get there, though, I should just show the artwork here for the Fling ally feat. You just have this Goliath hucking this really deranged looking halfling or gnome at this terrified orc. I love that. I will always love just the crazy eyes on that little guy as he's being flung through the air. It's just amazing. But here we are looking at substitution features, and so for this we are going to the Goliath, because the Goliath has Barbarian substitution features. And unlike the ones from the Players Handbook 2, there are usually several options that you can choose from, and when you gain a particular level, you don't necessarily have to take the substitution feature, but again, if you don't, when the time comes, you lose the right to choose to get it. So it's sort of like you have to do it at that level or it's gone, kind of thing. So with these substitution levels, also some of the things that they might do is affect your hit die, but that's only for the level that you gain those substitution levels at or features at. Truthfully, if I were to ever go back and rerun 3.5, which is a very hypothetical scenario, if someone was using the substitution features of their race from these books, for example, I would make a deal where if they committed to taking all of them, then I would let them, if the hit dice is different from the standard class, I would let them take the newer one all throughout. But again, it is what it is. So the Goliath Barbarian, however, does not get that option because D12 was the highest hit dice that you could roll. So their substitution features. So the first one that we have here is Mountain Rage. The Goliath Barbarian who takes the first level racial substitution level can tap into the mountain strength to increase his size and power during a rage. When he rages, his size category increases to large. Although his size category increases by 1 step, the Goliath's Barbarian's height only increases by a foot or so, and his mass only increases by 30 to 40%. His equipment still fits normally. This change increases the Barbarian's space and reach to 10 feet, and applies a -1 penalty to attack rolls and to AC. However, he does not gain additional benefits on weapon size and grapple checks, since he already has them from his racial ability. The Goliath Barbarian also gains an additional +2 bonus to his strength when he enters Mountain Rage. So that's sort of the benefit to taking it there, is that you get, instead of the regular +4, you would actually get +6. So Mountain Rage replaces the standard Barbarian's Rage ability, and when a Barbarian would normally gain extra use of the Rage ability, he instead gains extra uses of the Mountain Rage ability, which makes sense. However, the Barbarian gains these benefits in addition to the normal benefits and penalties of his Rage. So again, the extra +2 on top of the +4 to strength already, as well as +4 to con. So it really just sort of augments the natural rage ability. The Barbarian is also still fatigued for the duration of the encounter when his rage ends, so the duration doesn't change. If the Goliath Barbarian's rage bonus improved from other effects, such as greater rage, the extra strength bonus from Mountain Rage stacks, so you still add that on top of it. Fortification. A Goliath Barbarian who takes the 5th level racial substitution level develops a tough hide that allows him extra protection against potentially devastating attacks. When a critical hit or sneak attack is scored on the Goliath Barbarian with the substitution benefit, there is a 25% chance that the critical hit or sneak attack is negated and damage is rolled normally. This benefit replaces the Barbarian's improved Uncanny Dodge. I do like that feature. I kind of like that a little bit more than the Uncanny Dodge, where I guess it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But I like the fortification ability. It just feels a bit more like what a Barbarian would do, especially like the 3rd edition Barbarian, where they probably don't seem as concerned with dodging. Especially when fighting, but anyway, I like that ability a little bit more. Skin of Stone. A Goliath Barbarian who takes the 7th level racial substitution level gains the ability to shrug off some amount of injury from most attacks. He gains damage reduction of 2/adamantine. At 10th level and every 3 Barbarian levels thereafter, this damage reduction increases by 2 points. This benefit replaces the standard damage reduction as well as the damage reduction values gained at higher levels. So you're trading off the fact that you can reduce more with the fact that a weapon of with the adamantine property just negates it altogether, whereas the regular barbarian damage reduction can't be negated. So you have to sort of weigh, it's like a risk reward thing, I guess. If you take that, you reduce more for most attacks, and unless you've got a DM who is going to be kind of a jerk about it and has everything suddenly fighting you with adamantine weapons, it's again an ability worth taking. And generally speaking, the substitution features just make a lot of sense for how they're being portrayed. So again, it's sort of why I'm kind of a fan of them. Although there were other classes, especially in the Players Handbook 2, where their substitution feature was far, far better than the standard version versus maybe a mild improvement or sort of a change of pace or flavor. Alright, up next we have Races of Destiny, and this has our half-elves, humans, half-orcs, halflings, anything with half in it. This weird Illumian race, which they never, I don't think, ever went back to. But we got our half-orc here, and of course our half-orc is going to have a racial substitution level for being a barbarian. And so here we have it here. Half-orc barbarian, they also have a d12 hit dice. So just to show you an example, because the two that I've shown, the hit dice are the same, just to show really quickly here, and we'll probably touch on this if I do a similar video for when I get to like a class like the Druid. The half-orc Druid, they would actually gain d10s instead of d8s on the levels that they have the ability. So I just want to show that yes, there is actually a difference in the hit dice for classes other than the class that already has the highest hit dice in the game. Alright, so half-orc barbarians. So to take a half-orc barbarian substitution level, a character must be half-orc, which makes sense, about to take a 2nd, 5th, or 7th level barbarian. So it looks like the standard rage actually remains the same here. So it's the one of the ones that isn't changing that. So the 2nd level feature is called Reckless Charge. At 2nd level, the half-orc barbarian gains a +4 bonus on attack rolls when making a charge, but takes a -4 penalty to the armor class. Back in 3rd edition, the normal bonuses and penalties was +2 to attacks, -2 to armor class, so you get a higher attack bonus, but you take the same amount extra in penalty. These values replace the normal bonus and penalty for a charged character. This benefit replaces standard barbarian's uncanny dodge ability. If a barbarian would later gain improved uncanny dodge as a barbarian class feature, he gains uncanny dodge instead. So you can't gain the greater or improved version of something unless you have the regular version of it. At 5th level, they get Insightful Rage. So while raging, a half-orc barbarian of 5th level or higher gains a +4 bonus on will saves to disbelieve illusion spells. This replaces the benefit of the barbarian's improved uncanny dodge. So far, those are actually kind of somewhat lackluster. The Reckless Charge one is probably, of those two, is the one that I would probably consider taking. But then we have Two-Handed Strike, so we'll see if this is better. So at 7th level, the half-orc barbarian focuses combat talents towards massive two-handed melee weapons. The half-orc barbarian gains a +2 bonus on damage rolls with any two-handed weapon. This benefit replaces the standard barbarian's damage reduction gained at 7th level. From this point forward, the half-orc barbarian's damage reduction is treated as 1 point less than noted. So this is sort of, again, a bit of an odd feature. It's kind of a strange set of options. I honestly thought I remembered the half-orc barbarian ones being way better than that. Although the two-handed strike is something that I probably would take, just because the damage reduction, while an okay feature to have, reducing something by 1 point or like 2 points at the levels that you're getting up to, so at 10th level, taking 2 points of damage off of attacks isn't a huge deal. Or it's not the biggest thing in the world, I guess, sort of idea. So The fact that this only replaces the first version or the first instance of the damage reduction is sort of interesting. So I would think that for the Barbarian, getting the extra +2 bonus to damage, on top of the fact that two-handed weapons already did like 1.5 times your strength modifier back in these days. And if you took power attack, for every point you took off of your base attack with the power attack feat with the two-handed weapon gave you a +2 bonus, it means that your half-orc barbarian could hit pretty dang hard. And if you charged into combat, for example, while raging and using power attack and two-handed strike, you can do a lot with a single strike. So I think those benefits far outweigh getting plus, or reducing damage by 1. So overall, that's an ability. Two-handed strike is one that I would definitely take. Reckless charge is one that I would probably consider. But yeah, so there we go. So that's just sort of just a little snippet of like the racial substitution or just variant of class features for the Barbarian. Like I said, when it comes to 3rd edition and 3.5, I'm sure there are more of them. I'm sure there are more of them in books that I own. I just never really remembered them because these were books that I used quite frequently, actually, versus some of the other ones, especially ones that I got later on in my collecting days. So anyway, let me know in the comments below if you ever taken any of these substitution features for the Barbarian, or what your thoughts are of them in general, and if you know of other products from like the 3rd edition era, or even the 4th edition era, because I'm sure things like the Primal Power book or Martial Power, I think it was Primal Power was the source of that Barbarians used in 4E. So I'm sure that there are substitution features that Barbarians could get in that edition as well. I just don't own those books, so if you know of any, let me know, because I'd love to hear it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, just sort of a deeper dive into the classes, and just interesting to see how Wizards kind of decided to tweak the classes to fit either some feedback that they may have gotten along the way, or to try to make it fit the idea that you get from seeing a particular class race combination. So I found it interesting, and I hope that you guys kind of find it kind of cool to see what they had done back then as well. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.